Major Reddit forums close shop as promised. Barracuda warns that the cure for a major problem means scrapping existing devices. And a couple of stories put the growth and world dominance of AI in perspective. These and more top tech news stories from #Trending and Tech News Day. I'm your host, Jim Love, CIO of IT World Canada and Tech News Day in the US. If you tried to log into a Reddit forum today, this is what you might see. This forum is private. Today, the moderators showed that they meant business as they closed down hundreds and maybe thousands of subreddits. While many of the closures are supposedly only for the day, two of the largest subreddits, r/iPhone and r/gaming, have gone dark along with some of our favorite technology forums, and these larger forums have stated that they may stay closed until Reddit changes its policy. All is not lost, however. If you're interested in r/bug identification or r/your age, your rage, or r/white people Twitter, there are still some subreddits operating. There are also some more general interest subreddits like r/world news, but I have to say, if you're looking for your daily fix of news from the larger forums, you might be disappointed. In fact, I've never seen the replacement for technology forums look so buggy. And what the heck is a rhino beetle? A new S&P report puts the growth of AI into a new perspective. It suggests that while generative AI will enjoy significant growth in the coming years, the revenue it generates may still not get to the levels of earnings from existing services and hardware of big tech companies like Apple, Google, and Microsoft. The reason may be that AI providers themselves often operate in less lucrative business-to-business markets, while consumer products companies that get the savings from using AI and are able to package it into more profitable AI-powered services and devices win more revenue and profits. To put it in perspective, 5 years after smartphones hit the market, their global revenue was around $330 billion. That's nearly 10 times the forecast for generative AI. As far back as 2012, 5 years after its launch, Apple's iPhone alone brought in $78.7 billion in revenue. That's more than double the total predicted market for all generative AI 5 years from now. Or we can look at Google's advertising revenue, which topped $224 billion in 2022. Even if Google's Bard chatbot ended up dominating the market, it would only be a relatively minor contributor to Google's overall income. Experts note, however, that the greatest impact of generative AI is likely to be its transformation of productivity and creativity in a wide range of businesses. Keith Rabois, a general partner at Founders Fund, though, is quoted as saying, "No VC returns there," indicating that despite the media attention and growth, there may actually be a challenging financial landscape emerging for AI startups. While tech giants including Meta, Dell, and Google are promoting the benefits of in-person work and are trying to engineer or even demand a return to the office, DevOps company Atlassian is taking a different approach. The company warns that mandating a return to the office could negatively impact worker morale, increase staff turnover, and potentially hinder innovation. Scott Farquhar, co-CEO and co-founder of Atlassian, said recently that companies tying butts and seats to performance or guilting their employees into charitable behavior is not only disingenuous but harmful. By making these decisions, companies are stunting innovation, limiting opportunities to the hands of the few, and degrading the one thing they care about: connection. Atlassian's workforce, which exceeds 10,000, is allowed to choose where they work. Farquhar estimates that around 40% live more than 2 hours from their nearest office. He also shares that 91% of his staff cite the flexibility to work remotely or from an office as important reasons for staying with the organization, and 92% say it allows them to do their best work. In contrast, Amazon has asked its 300,000 corporate workers to return to the office for at least 3 days a week. Meta and Dell have also expressed a preference for in-person work, with Meta's Mark Zuckerberg stating that engineers perform better in person. Farquhar concludes by saying, "We're not taking attendance, and it's working for us. Employee productivity, retention, and happiness are up, and from our perspective, strict mandates miss what work should be about: good work." A former Samsung executive whose name has not been disclosed has been charged by prosecutors in the Suwon district with allegedly stealing semiconductor plant blueprints and technology from Samsung. This data theft reportedly cost Samsung as much as $230 million. The accused, who had been a vice president of another Korean chipmaker, SK Hynix, allegedly stole the information between 2018 and 2019. His plan was to build a semiconductor plant in Jian, China, about a mile from an existing Samsung plant. He hired 200 employees from SK Hynix and Samsung to obtain their trade secrets. The executive also tried to partner with an unnamed Taiwanese electronics manufacturing company who pledged $6.2 billion to build the new semiconductor plant. The partnership fell through, but the executive still managed to get about $358 million from Chinese investors, which was used to create prototypes at a plant in Chengdu, China. This plant was also reported to be built using stolen Samsung information. The prosecutor's office stated, "It's a grave crime that could deal a heavy blow to our economic security by shaking the foundation of the domestic chip industry at a time of intensifying competition in chip manufacturing." 6 co-conspirators, including one Samsung subcontractor, were also charged. Barracuda Networks has sent an urgent notice to customers to immediately decommission and replace all of what they have identified as compromised devices. Barracuda had previously said that the users could patch the vulnerable email security gateway, ESG appliances. However, an update issued this week stated that the hardware must be immediately replaced regardless of the patch version level. It says, if you have not replaced your appliance after receiving notice in your UI, contact support now. The incident has affected approximately 5% of active ESG appliances worldwide, which have shown evidence of known indicators of compromise due to the vulnerability, according to a company representative. The Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency had first reported that a vulnerability tracked as CVE 2023-2868 was being exploited by hackers to remotely execute system commands on Barracuda hardware. Then in May, Barracuda reported that it issued 2 separate patches to fix the flaw. Rapid7, a cybersecurity firm, reported that its incident response teams are currently investigating the exploitation of ESG appliances dating back to at least November 2022, and they have identified malicious activity with the most recent communication with a threat actor infrastructure observed in May of 2023. Mike Parkin from a firm called Vulcan Cyber suggested that the switch from patching to entirely replacing devices was likely made because investigations uncovered that the hackers were able to make deeper changes to the firmware on the device that a patch might not easily or fully correct. In a recent article by Darina Antoniuk for The Record, a group of pro-Ukrainian hacktivists known as the Cyber Anarchy Squad has claimed responsibility for a massive cyber attack on Infotel, a Russian internet and telecommunications company used mostly by banks and online stores. Infotel confirmed the cyber operation on its website, stating, "We inform you that as a result of a massive hacker attack on the Infotel network, part of the network equipment was damaged. Restoration work is currently underway. At the time of writing, some of the services listed on its website are still unavailable." The Moscow-based company provides services to Russia's central bank and connects it to local banks, financial companies, and online stores. The attack may cause issues for Russian businesses in accessing banking systems and making payments, according to the hackers. The hackers claim, "We have completely destroyed their infrastructure. There is nothing left alive. Let them try to restore it now, but their chances are as slim as finding an easy life in Russia." They also claim to have accessed certain intelligence, including a list of customers and their email correspondences. The attack stands out from many small-scale campaigns launched by Ukrainian hackers due to the apparent damage inflicted on both the company's operations and its clients. The ongoing war between Ukraine and Russia has been seen as a cyber tit-for-tat, with the most common types of cyber attacks involving distributed denial of service, defacement, and data leaks. But this recent attack takes this to a new level, and although it's part of a war between Russia and Ukraine, these attack methods might find their way into use by others not involved in this conflict. The concept of the technological singularity, a point at which AI becomes self-aware and more powerful than humankind, has garnered attention in Silicon Valley as AI continues to transform business and society. The idea of a singularity, when AI not only vastly exceeds human intelligence, but also becomes aware and, to some, sentient, is seen by some as an irreversible technological shift. Some even envision it as a path to an AI extinction event, while others imagine a merging of humans and machines leading to a form of immortality that transcends time and biology. Now, these predictions are certainly alarming, and are coming from some somewhat credible sources. But there's another school of thought that says the threat may be exaggerated. Ryan Heath, writing in Axios Login, takes a contrarian view. He notes that innovators, researchers, and policymakers may marvel at advances in generative AI, but experts are uncertain about where we'll be next month, let alone credibly mapping a timeline for reaching a singularity and immortality. Ryan takes the position that any godlike AI would also likely face a global backlash. Practical barriers such as computing and energy capacity are limiters. He notes that we're years away from having the quantum computing or nuclear fusion energy that might be needed to power a singularity-style AI entity. But the concept of the singularity still captures the imagination. It's been part of science fiction writing for years. The out-of-control AI was popularized by Arthur C. Clarke in his book 2001, but he was not alone. Arthur Werner Winge first wrote about a singularity in 1993, and the idea was later popularized by inventor and entrepreneur Ray Kurzweil in his 2005 book, The Singularity is Near. But Heath cautions that Silicon Valley's loudest voices often make extreme predictions, and it's worth treating any extreme claims skeptically. Oh, come on. When did any technological development get so overhyped that we should start becoming skeptical? We have a link to the full article in the text version of this podcast at itworldcanada.com/podcasts. Read it and decide for yourself. And that's the top tech news stories for today. Links to all the stories can be found in the text version of this podcast at itworldcanada.com/podcasts. Hashtag Trending goes to air 5 days a week with a special weekend interview episode called Hashtag Trending the Weekend Edition. You can find us on Google, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We're also on YouTube 5 days a week with a new video newscast, only there we're called Tech News Day. We love to hear your comments. Find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, or on our new Mastodon site, technews.social, where I'm at @TheRealJimLove. Or if that's too much to remember, just go to the article at itworldcanada.com/podcasts, and you'll find a text version with additional links and references. Click on the X or the check under the article, and we promise that the only sentient being who will read it will be a human being. We read all the comments we get, and we use them to try to serve you better. Have a terrific Tuesday.